Bonjour mes amis, je m'appelle Tanner and I'd like to welcome you back to my YouTube channel. Looking très français in this beret, and yes, this is a new cardigan. Well, relatively new. I've had it ever since my dad's girlfriend Anne gave it to me as a Christmas present. So while it is the newest of my cardigans, I've still had it for a couple of months now. Anyway, this week I was hoping to do something a little bit different from my usual format and interpret some of your dreams with this dream dictionary that I happen to possess. Unfortunately, I did not get any dreams to interpret, so for now at least, that video is not going to happen. However, it might happen in the future. So if you want to participate, then please leave any dreams that you can remember in the comments below, and who knows, they might get featured. I decided I was going to stick to the topic of dreams. However, instead of interpreting them, I would look into the various myths and legends behind dreams. And by that, I mean how the different cultures from all across history explain dreams and sleep phenomena, if that makes sense. Now, like with all of my other list videos, link to the playlist in the cards and in the description down below, this list is going to be in no particular order except for the last entry, simply because the last entry is the most well-known out of each of them. So, without further ado, here are 10 myths and legends about dreams. Number 1. Morpheus. Now, the ancient Greeks had many different gods that represented different types of dreams, including, but not limited to, Morpheus. And no, this is not about the Matrix character. Morpheus was the son of the Greek god of sleep, Hypnos, and was the god designated to bring messages from the gods to people through their dreams. Now, this was mainly because, out of all of Hypnos' children, of which there were many, Morpheus was the best at disguising himself as a human, which I guess made it easier for him to deliver messages. Now, his true form, as interpreted by the poet Ovid in his famous poem The Metamorphoses, was of a large, black, demonic-looking creature with enormous black wings, which I guess made it easier for him to enter into the dream world. Also, fun fact, the narcotic drug morphine gets its name from Morpheus. Huh, go figure. Number 2, Phobetor and the Oneiroi. Now, Phobetor was Morpheus' brother, who was put in charge of bringing people nightmares. Yeesh. Now, like Morpheus, Phobetor took the form of a black demon, who was described by Ovid in the Metamorphoses as a shapeshifter who, quote, formed the beasts and birds and long sliding snakes, end of quote. Now, Phobetor and Morpheus were all members of the Oneiroi, who were collectively the gods in charge of different types of dreams. They all lived in Erebos, meaning darkness, which was a part of the underworld named after the primordial god of darkness. And by primordial, I mean like how Gaia was the primordial goddess of earth, Oranos was the primordial god of the sky, etc. Phobetor was also known to have children who were all nightmares themselves. The Greek god of nightmares had children who were themselves nightmares. Think about that. Number 3, the Baku. The Baku is a yokai from Japanese folklore and is usually described as having an elephant head, a pig body, tiger legs, and the piercing eyes of a rhino. In other words, it looks like a tapir. Now, why is a tapir-like creature associated with dreams, you may ask? Well, the Baku is said to feed on nightmares in order to let good dreams through. Now, some versions of this creature, nicknamed Mo, not entirely sure why, only protect you if you draw a sketch of it before you go to bed. So if you're good at art, you're probably going to be fine. If you're not the best at art, you might want to start going to art classes, just in case. Number 4, the Nue. Now, the Nue is another yokai from Japan, which basically acts like the exact opposite of a Baku, in the fact that it brings nightmares and bad luck. Appearance-wise, the Nue is chimerical, with the face of a monkey, the body of a tanuki, a Japanese raccoon dog, look them up, they're real cute, the legs of a tiger, and a snake for a tail. A fully functioning snake. Now, in the story The Tale of the Heike from the 12th century, which talks about a war between two clans, the Nue appears in the form of a dark cloud that plagues the current emperor. The emperor was then plagued by nightmares every time he closed his eyes, and eventually grew sicker and sicker until one day, one of his samurai shot an arrow into the dark cloud and killed the Nue. In fact, by the Sea of Japan, there is a small mound which supposedly serves as the Nue's gravesite. Number 5, Brownies. Now, in Scottish folklore, brownies are little people, aka fairies, who entered your house as you slept because they'd rather not be seen, and did your household chores for you. They were even more motivated if you offered them food, especially porridge and milk. However, if you offend a brownie in any way, the various ways being way too numerous to list, they will either A, leave entirely, which is your best bet, or B, causing mischief instead of help. If they decide to do option B, it can be as innocent as just spooking your sheep or knocking over your farming tools, to as heinous as stealing your freshly baked pies from the windowsills. Number 6, the Mara. Now, the Mara from various Germanic cultures is an evil creature that is said to take on many different forms depending on the region. In most of the regions, Maras tend to take the form of goblin-like creatures. However, in Croatia specifically, the Mara tends to take the form of a beautiful seductress. Now, in a lot of other places, the Mara is sometimes known as the Alpa and is described as an imp-like creature wearing a hat or a cloak that renders it invisible. However, they all do the same thing, which is sit on your chest, constrict your airflow, and give you sleep paralysis, all while turning your dreams into nightmares. In fact, the English translation of Mara is mare, where we get the word nightmare. Number 7, sleep paralysis. Speaking of sleep paralysis, there are many cultures around the world that have their own explanations of, well, sleep paralysis. In Kashmir in India, there is a wicked creature called a Pasiktar, I don't know how to pronounce it, which attacks you while it's invisible, and these attacks cause sleep paralysis. In Turkey, sleep paralysis is caused by a jinn sitting on you and covering your mouth, therefore strangling you. For those of you who don't know, a jinn is the proper name for what we over here in the West call genies. though in the Middle East they're more akin to spirits and or demons than they are in our version. Speaking of demons, in Pakistan, Shaitan himself, aka the one we Westerners call Satan, is the one attacking you in your sleep, giving you sleep paralysis. So basically, no matter where you are, sleep paralysis is a problem, and many cultures have given it a different type of supernatural explanation. Number 8. The Great Spirit. Now, there's a Native American myth, specifically from the Abenaki tribe from the New England area, that involves both dreams and yet is also a creation myth. Now, the legend goes that the Great Spirit lived in an empty void with no form or function. So, in order to create the earth, he summoned a giant turtle and created the mountains on its back by piling clay on top of it. Now, after he created the mountains, for some reason, all of a sudden, he couldn't decide what would inhabit this new world he created. He thought and thought and thought so much that he thought himself into a deep sleep. In that sleep, he dreamed of many things, about birds in the sky, fish in the water, beasts of the land, and of people. For a while, he thought this was all just a nightmare, but when he awoke with a start, he found that his dream had created all the inhabitants of the earth. As he looked on, he saw that all of these creatures he created all worked together in their own ways to fulfill a beautiful purpose. Number 9. Dream catching. Another Native American legend, this story originates with the Ojibwe people, originally from around Lake Superior. The story goes that the people lived on a mystical island called Turtle Island, and they were watched over by Asibikashi, sometimes known as Grandmother Spider, who would build a web every morning to capture the sun to bring to the people. As the people spread and grew, Asibikashi found it more and more difficult to watch over all of them. So she taught them how to weave their own webs, and through them she could protect the people from nightmares. These webs are known today as dream catchers, and, according to the legend, if you hang one above your bed, good dreams will filter through, while nightmares will get caught before they reach you. Number 10. The Sandman. Everyone knows the story of the Sandman, a benevolent figure who sprinkles sands into people's eyes to give them dreams. The Sandman is the reason you sometimes wake up with crusty residue around your eyes. Now, the first ever written story about the Sandman was Ololokoi, written by the one and only Hans Christian Andersen. However, a darker version was created in 1816. In the German story Der Sandman, the only children who were visited by the Sandman were the ones who simply refused to go to sleep. His sand, instead of making them fall asleep, caused their eyes to fall out, and he collects these eyes to feed to his demonic children who live with him in a fortress made of iron located on the moon. Lovely. Well, on that note, there we have it. That was 10 myths and legends about dreams. If you like this video and you want more, please give this video a like and subscribe down below so you don't miss any new videos. Also, if you have any other ideas for any future videos, please leave your thoughts in the comments down below and it might just happen. Alright, well, that's all the time I have for this video, so I will see you all next week with a brand new one. À bientôt, les gars!